Welcome, everyone. It is the 15th of February. Thank you very much for turning up, spending your evening, a little bit of your evening with me. And this session will probably last no longer than an hour. No need to go on video. If you have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat bar, or feel free to use the reaction button. And I will notice that, and I will come straight to you. So feel free to do that. I want this to be as interactive as possible. For you guys that know me, you probably realize that I can talk and talk and talk about this subject. I've been a football agent for 15 years. Done deals everywhere, really. Not always at the top level, but it's a business which can take you to many, many parts of the world. And you never know when you get that email, that Instagram message, that WhatsApp message, that phone call, what opportunities can come your way.
Hi.
So it's been a fascinating journey for me so far. And, I really enjoy training the next generation of FIFA football agents. And I have done that for about 10 years. So there are kind of two elements to it, and I'll talk about this more towards the end. First off is passing the FIFA football agent exam, which we'll talk about very shortly. And then the second part is the business of a FIFA football agent, which is probably a lot more different to what people actually think. The roles and skills needed and what you have to do on a day-to-day basis are extremely different and varied, and it can be frustrating. It can be very exciting as well. But we'll discuss those later on in this session. So first of all, just a little bit about myself. Like I said, I've been a FIFA football agent for 15 years. I worked in high-performance sports for about 20 of those years. Not just in football, but with Olympic athletes, Paralympic athletes, extreme sports athletes, even poker players I've worked with on the endorsement side, and also within football in terms of player placement and contract negotiation and just overall management of a client. So I've worked for London agencies. I've worked in the US before. I've also now set up my own agency called Sprint Management Group, Sprint MG for short. And, we have a growing client base around the world. So it's exciting times. And recently I launched Sports Business Education, which is designed as a platform for me to train guys like yourself who want to become FIFA football agents or just intrigued about the industry. So I feel I have a lot to give. I'm happy to share information. I'm happy to be a resource and mentor you. And this is like the first kind of FIFA kind of football agent seminar series that SportsBee is doing. I do have future ones planned. I plan to do one every month. The next one is going to be focused on African football and that kind of growing opportunity. Opportunity has always been there, but the opportunity and how to market players from Africa into Europe and leagues around the world. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'll bring a guest speaker in with me, Andrew Olsen, who's runs a very successful football blog on African football, and somebody that I've actually trained and helped develop. And together we'll talk about the African football industry. But that's for another time. Today we are here to talk about the role and skills of football agent and how to go about that application process of becoming an agent. Now, during all the courses I've done in the past about the business of football agent and how to be a football agent, I always ask this kind of question. Now, this is where you're welcome to put your hands up. You're welcome to give your comments. What is the role of an agent? What is the main role of an agent? The primary role of an agent? You can either type in the chat bar, or you can raise your hand. Or Peter, you've unmuted your microphone, so I guess you want to go first. What is the primary role of a sports agent, Peter? No, Caroline?
Hi.
Hi there, welcome.
Hi, sorry I got on a bit late.
That's fine, no problem.
Well, I would say the primary role of a sports agent is to speak for your client.
Okay. Speak on behalf of, yes, I
Speak on
agree.
behalf, which means like
But in regards to what?
regards to their career as a soccer player.
Okay. Very good. I can't argue with that, but there's one element which is really, really key.
Can I add that?
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
Uh, you help negotiate the best possible contract for your client.
Thank
You
you.
serve the
Very good.
Yeah.
client.
You know,
Yeah.
and that is it really. You know, the primary role of a sports agent is to negotiate the football contract.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is the main role. In kind of, you know, if you look back into the history of sports agents, I'm trying to remember the head on the top of my head. It was an NFL player in 1925. I want to say Red Grange, who was moving to the Chicago Bears, employed the kind of first agent to negotiate his contract. When the industry kind of really kicked off sports management was in 1958 with Arnold Palmer, the golfer, and Mark McCormack. You know, on a handshake, Mark McCormack negotiated endorsement deals and opportunities for Arnold Palmer. And that's when that massive conglomerate of IMG was created. And that was basically on negotiating a contract. So even if we take it today, the role of a sports agent has really kind of changed. It's really developed. But it all comes down to negotiating the contract. If you don't negotiate a contract, you don't get commission. If you don't get a commission, you haven't got an agency, you haven't got a business. So that's regardless if you're working for a player, a coach, or a team, which under the new FIFA regulations, you can do so. But it's all about negotiating the contract and delivering football agent services. So I always like to make that point. And if, you know, why are there regulations in sports agency? That's another great question to ask. Why do you think there are regulations in sports agency? And there's one reason why, really. So one word answer. Ademola, go ahead.
To stay compliant with
To be compliant with.
the business.
Okay, so what is the business? It's a one word answer. Let me give you a clue. It supposedly makes the world go round. For those of you that know that really old song.
To make money.
Money. Money is the reason why there are sports regulations. Yeah. Money makes the world go round. And if there was no money in the game, if there's no money in sport, then there would be no regulations because there'd be no agents. There'd be no agents. It's interesting, FIFA introduced first of all, they introduced a bond and people had to give a non-refundable bond in Swiss francs to FIFA. And that would allow them to become a football agent. Then they introduced an examination, which is very similar to what it is now. 20 questions, extremely tough. And then 1st of April 2015, many people thought it was a joke, but it wasn't. But they basically disbanded the agent license system and brought in intermediaries, which meant that pretty much anyone could become a football agent. Now, at the time, I was quite against it because people had spent a lot of time and money in building their businesses, and then they opened it up for all. And I was against it completely until they started introducing the new regulations. because there were some very good intermediaries, there were some terrible intermediaries. It was saturated. The market was saturated. So it wasn't working, I agree. But I do feel quite sorry for some intermediaries that have failed the FIFA agent exam, that do extremely good job for their clients and are no longer working in the industry until they pass the examination. So when FIFA introduced the exam and introduced the new regulations, it was quite a surprise, actually. I knew it had been on the horizon, but how quickly they tried to implement them. I know they did a lot of kind of research. They had a lot of consultation with different parties. Some argue that wasn't enough. But the speed they actually introduced it was quite interesting. And maybe they introduced it a bit too quickly because obviously some of the regulations have been challenged. So there is a little bit of confusion in the industry. People think that the FIFA agent regulations are not in existence, they're not being applied, but in fact they are. There's just elements around how an agent is paid have not been implemented. How an agent would report representation contracts and report information on their business and how they've done business are not kind of been implemented yet. But the rest of the regulations have been implemented pretty much. So in order to do business in the industry, you do need to be licensed. And it's a challenge. You know, those FIFA agent exams are quite a big challenge. So the next one is on the 22nd of May. You have until the 31st of March to actually register. Okay, but before we get into that, let's continue talking about the role of a football agent. And we'll open it up because you seem quite a talkative group, which is amazing, which is great for me. So let's talk about, there's no right or wrong answers here. Well, there are some wrong answers, but I'll be kind with you today. So what else do you think is a role of a kind of football agent? What other roles can a football agent play? So we've had negotiating contracts. So that could be negotiating contracts, that could be acting as, I use the word intermediary because that's what it is really, between players and clubs, and actually negotiate a contract that is of best interest to their clients. So you can also represent clubs to sell players as well. You can also represent coaches. So what other, if you could raise your hand or type in, what other roles of an agent does an agent perform? Anyone?
Make sure the transfer of a player goes on the right time.
Okay, so that would probably be, the role of an agent would be, I may put that under something called market knowledge.
Okay.
So that's understanding the regulations, okay? Understanding the business, understanding market trends and when you can market a player and when you can't, when you can negotiate a contract and when you can't. When is the optimum time to negotiate a contract for a player or to promote a player? You know, that is probably another. So yeah, so we'll put that under that. Very good, Samad. Thank you. Peter?
Mahmoud, not Sama.
We're talking. Oops.
Hi, Peter. That's fine. It's good to see you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry, John. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Good.
All right. We're talking on the subject of an agent's role. Are we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'll add on to, I could also add on as let's see, an agent is also responsible. Well, I wouldn't say solely responsible for the for the client's affairs as well. Managing the client's affairs. That's either personal affairs or professional affairs when it comes to um and like the commercial side of things.
Okay, so there's like yeah, so that's the endorsement side of it.
Yeah,
Those
they just
guys do a very small amount of players nowadays.
yes.
It depends. There are like the superstar players who are big brands in themselves because of their performance on the pitch, and usually the clubs that they play for.
Yeah.
Kind of looks after themselves. Others do have a brand, but that's driven by social media, and they're kind of professional football players, but also can be influencers. So that is a kind of growing kind of market. When it looks at endorsements, even if you're marketing your player locally, they still have to be a star in their own town. Maybe not a star in the city or in the country or the world, but you can still get endorsement opportunities and star in their own town. But not all players are suitable for endorsement opportunities. But that's a good one, Peter. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Who else?
Sorry
Yeah,
about that because I just had a little
No, that's fine. No problem.
Sorry about that.
No, I didn't hear a thing. Right, let's go to. Sorry if I say your name wrong. Is it Cebu?
Yes.
I say it right. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I just want to add it on that one. As to be able to recognize the talents and support in terms of recruitment of your agents or any agents you're working with.
Okay.
So that will be another part of the role as an agent.
Yes.
And this is the very crucial things as an agent to be able to recognize that talent is most important part of your journey.
I tell you what, it's a really important part of the role. And interestingly, it's where a lot of agents go wrong. Okay, so recruitment and scouting is extremely important. Talent ID and identifying new clients is really important. Now, why I say a lot of kind of agents go wrong is because they recruit the wrong players. The role of a scout and the role of an agent, and this is in my opinion, people have different opinions, are very similar, but the end game is extremely different. So I'll throw this out to you, Swaby, first of all. What do you think a role of a scout is? Sorry, I put people on the spot, but I like getting people's feedback. What is the role of a scout?
Can I talk?
Yes, go ahead.
Spot on the talent early age.
To spot talent at an early age, yes. So there are some scouts that don't always look at them at an early age. They may look at them to enter the academy at 16. Some scouts go and assess players to bring them in when they are 20, 21.
Okay.
But your kind of comment is right to identify talent. So I always say, a scout's role is to identify potential talent for a club. Okay.
Can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead. Introduce yourself?
Yeah. Also a scout. Obviously, they need data. They could use data to football data to scout talents as well. They use data. Football obviously with the technology going on right now. Like statistics, analytical data. We use that to scout players.
Very
keep them
much
on the
so.
record.
They're very much the kind of Moneyball principle taken from baseball. If you haven't seen that film, it's a baseball film.
All right.
Very good. It's very good. But, teams like Brentford and Liverpool have kind of used that kind of Moneyball concept. So I think it's available on Netflix, Moneyball. It's a Brad Pitt film, but it's very good. It's very good. And if you can learn about that, you know, look at that film and you can understand a lot about how sports actually operates now in this kind of analytics world. So I definitely recommend that movie to take a look at. So there's a lot of data, there's a lot of video on players now. Okay. It's probably too much data. Depends how the scouts and how the performance analysts actually use it. And then who makes the decisions? The sporting directors. Agents also have access to that data.
Yep.
So the question is, what is the role of an agent in this? This is probably a similar answer to negotiating contracts. But if a scout's role is to identify potential talent, if we're going along the same theme, what is an agent's role?
Can I talk?
Can I answer? Agents will
ahead.
identify talents and represent them, find them clubs. Whereas scouts, they identify talents for football teams.
Isn't that the same? To find them clubs, isn't that the same as a scout, really?
Yes, you represent them, but scouts are working for clubs. As an agent, you work for yourself.
Okay. So
Or
if you represent a player, you sign that player under a contract, and you represent that player, and no clubs are interested in your player, what does that mean? Are you doing the job of a scout, or are you doing a job of a poor scout?
You're doing a job of a poor agent because you should be able to have a network where you can take your players to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I know this is a common kind of discussion that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else want to jump in?
Okay, me,
You
Mahmoud.
should up the talent of your player, because after he's been identified, he or she's identified, then it's got to be developed.
Okay.
The talent has to be developed, and has to unfold and go somewhere.
So who identifies what is talent?
Well, initially, I think that's the scout who identifies that, and then the agent develops it.
Okay. Would the club develop it through training?
I would think so, but there's a lot that the club will need the agent to be in good communication with, because the player doesn't always speak to the club directly. They might speak to the agent who then speaks to the club.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But interestingly, if we go in between that, what you were talking about, in the middle, we've kind of missed the step. So
The step of getting the
this is very much my kind of viewpoint.
Mm.
Okay. So let's talk about that again. The role of a scout is to identify potential talent. Okay. The role of an agent, in my view, is to recruit talent that clubs want. So if you are recruiting talent that no clubs want, then you're recruiting incorrectly. And in a way, you're being a glorified, unsuccessful scout. Because if we go back all that way, back to the money part, negotiating contracts, that's your business. All of you in this room, if you got your license, you could sign hundreds of players who are in a massive talent pool that nobody wants. I don't know who mentioned it, but they mentioned the data and the statistics and the videos. Agents have access to that. Clubs have access to that. If your player doesn't have that right data, those right analytics, it's not impossible for you to find that individual. A club, but it's extremely difficult, extremely difficult. So the role of an agent is to recruit clients that clubs want. That is it. It's so much easier if you're recruiting clients that clubs want. And there are so many clubs around the world. So many clubs in the world. And when we talk about business football agents, we go into this into more depth. We discuss about what makes a good quality player and what makes a good client. Because whose opinion matters at the end of the day? Whose opinion matters at the end of the day? Is it my
Sporting
opinion?
director.
Is it the agent's opinion? Is it even the scout's opinion? Maybe a little bit, but whose opinion matters at the end of the day?
The sporting directors.
Exactly. It's the clubs. It's
Mhm.
people who are signing the contracts. Because I've fallen into that trap many, many times. Still do sometimes, where get a player's profile, look at the video, and I think, wow, this player's really good. And I have good contacts. I've been in this industry 15 years. I promote the player to certain clubs, think they should be interested. Why are they not interested in this player? They're not interested. I'm like, why? Why are they not interested in this player? And there could be so many different reasons why they're not interested. So really your recruitment should be through market intelligence. It should be, yes, highlighting, understanding players, but also understanding what clubs are actually in the market for. What
Yeah,
type
how do you do
they're
that?
in the market for. Mm-hmm.
How do you determine what clubs are in the market for?
Oh my goodness, Caroline, that's a 2 week, you can't do that in 45 minutes. You know, we do discuss that I do discuss that in the course, but it's down to, it can be down to many different things. It can be down to age, it can be down to nationality, it can be down to the language that a player speaks, it can be down to position, it can be down to budget, it can be down to.
So it's your job to research each club individually, like, and
Yes, that is
know.
one technique, you know.
Yeah,
And
I think
when it comes to young players, you know, you're trying to get a player into an academy, for example, usually they're, you know, it's one in, one out.
Mhm.
So, you know, if a club is going to release a player, you have to understand that maybe they've been training that player since the age of 12. So they could have had 6 years investment into that player. If a new player is coming to the academy, then that player hasn't got to be better or the same as the player that they're going to release. It has to be significantly better. And sometimes some people don't understand that. And, you know, it's a real challenge. And, you know, at the end of the day, there is no kind of magic formula, but understanding, you know, I sometimes there's players that I've represented in the past that actually I don't think are very good. They're good people, they work hard, they're professional, but technically, I don't think they're very good players. But they get contract after contract after contract because clubs want them. You know, if I looked at it purely from a football perspective, in terms of playing, I probably wouldn't want to represent them. But the reality is they get picked all the time. They stay in contracts. And that is because clubs want them. So they are good clients. They're good clients for me. The ones that clubs always want. So sometimes it's about, you know, is the role of an agent is understanding the market. It's understanding your kind of role in the game. And I often tell people, you know, the likelihood that it's not impossible, right? It is the kind of dream factory, but it's not impossible to find a player on a park and for that player to go all the way to the World Cup final, Champions League final, and be an absolute star. It's not impossible, but the odds are very much against you as an agent being able to do that because so many things can go wrong. And you're not really completely in control of the situation, especially when a player goes through the different stages of his or her career. So you have to play the numbers game. You have to be smart. You know, if you want to work with kind of young academy players and develop them, then great. But I always tell people that shouldn't be your only recruitment strategy. You should be working with established players. You should be trying to work with players who are going to bring income into your business. So that allows you to invest into other parts of the business. Because it's got such a high turnover of players. The rise can be very, very quick to the top, but the fall out of the professional game can be just as dramatic. You know, there is a stat, what percentage of players turn professional in England that enter the academy system at the age of 12? It is 1 in 200, 0.5%. So majority of players do not sign a professional contract even of 6 months old. They're deemed not good enough, or they fall out of love in the game and go a different direction. So it is one for the minority. But, you know, as an agent, you've got to make some good decisions. And that is part of the role, really, is to be insightful about the industry, insightful about the markets that you're with, and understand that the markets kind of dictate the players. And your role is to basically negotiate the best contract possible. Yes, you can propose players to clubs. And you will have successes and you will have frustrations. And even with the best contact list in the world, you can contact all the teams for your client, and you may not find one team interested. And that's something that we talk about, pathways and understanding and having a strategy for a player recruitment. It's what we discuss during the business football agent course. Okay. So yeah, great one. Whoever said that recruitment, that was a really good one. Any others? There's a few more.
Can I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
Mahmoud. I thought Scouter is identify potential talent for the club.
Yeah.
And the next chapter will be a good recruitment from an agent, as you said.
Yeah.
An agent role has to value the player at its best level, give him the best price tag and the price value. Because sometimes when you undervalue a player, you're not a good agent. You have to give the player.
Really interesting. It's
Yes.
really interesting question, that, and I completely agree with you. But it depends what your role as an agent is. So there are different types of agents out there. There are good agents, there are bad agents. Okay. There are agents that represent the interests of a client, and there are agents which are brokers. And there's nothing wrong with it being a broker, but that's not how I want to do business. Broker, by definition, would find an opportunity for a player and basically get the player to sign, pick up the commission and go. Now, is that broker going to negotiate the best deal possible for the client? No, they're not. They just want to get the deal done, collect their money, move on to the next opportunity. But that style of agency exists, and it does provide a purpose. But the client has to understand that they're probably going to leave money on the table. So I completely agree with your comments there, because that's how I would do business. But within sports agency and football agency, there is different ways of doing business. Some agents will not really want to represent players at all. They prefer to represent clubs. They prefer to help clubs transfer players from one club to another and pick up a commission of up to 10% of the transfer fee for doing so. Completely different way of doing agency. Others would work for the buying or the signing club, buying players that, in regards to clubs, players that they need, their requirements, do a deal with the player's agent, negotiate the deal, force it through, get it done. Completely different way of doing agency work. Others, kind of the traditional way, and probably one more of the glamorous ways, is to represent the client, look after their interests, negotiate the best contracts possible, and manage their career, like Peter mentioned about the endorsement side. Kind of looking at a player's contract and trying to work out the next steps. Now, where is the player going to go if he does well? Where the player's not going to go if he doesn't do so well? So having that kind of strategy, building that network is probably another role as well. And then also offering that support and advocacy to the players who will have challenging times during their career, but also have good times. So it's about enjoying those good times, but also offering a lot of support when things are not going well. And that could be for not being picked, or an injury, or just frustrations with how the team are performing. And probably, the last kind of role of an agent really would be legal and financial guidance. To assist them in understanding contracts, financial matters, making sure that they save. Now, if you are not a lawyer or you're not a financial advisor, then you can't really give financial advice or legal advice. So you may need to partner with a financial advisor, but putting those kind of services in place is really important. And obviously you would need to manage that as well. And probably another role is, what is a player going to do after the game? Career can be very short, and not all players earn hundreds of thousands of pounds, euros, dollars every week. Some of them will earn, a modest wage, but they're a pro player. But it's about how you manage those incomes, how they save, make sure they don't overspend. Because the career can be very, very short. It is a short career. It is a short career. And, often players will need to have a second career after. And it's no good waiting until a player's 35, 36, and then thinking, oh, what am I going to do next? So it's about that kind of planning and helping them through that kind of process, and making sure they go into training and start thinking about it early on. Okay. Anything else anyone would like to add?
I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to ask if an agent can help his athlete translate contract terms, an agreement, or is that a sole responsibility of a lawyer?
It's a good question. So under the old kind of FIFA agent regulations, so this is prior to intermediaries, lawyers were able to become licensed without sitting the exam. The same applied to parents and guardians of the player. They were able to, but that is no longer the case. So lawyers, in order to negotiate a football contract, would require to be licensed. So therefore, if you are a FIFA licensed agent, you can negotiate the football contract. So they don't need a lawyer or a legal representative, but a football agent could hire a legal representative to assist them in negotiation and to check the terms. So it's a little bit of a strange system, and I don't know how FIFA are going to actually enforce that, because if someone has legal qualifications and an individual has the legal right to have a lawyer represent them in negotiation, but it probably is the way they'll look at it is, yes, that is possible, but instead of charging a commission, they will charge an hourly rate. So currently, on their kind of service fees model, you would receive a percentage of the basic gross income of the player. If you also had to pay a lawyer, they would charge on a hourly rate. That's probably the difference there. Okay. But a lot of agents do use, especially as the contracts get bigger and bigger, it's probably extremely wise to use legal services. When it comes to like financial advice as well, it's best to use a financial expert. You shouldn't really be offering, we shouldn't be offering financial advice if you're not kind of trained in offering financial advice. Right. Any other comments?
I was going to ask a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I think you've answered it briefly there. So there used to be this increased number of players using their relatives, brothers, or dads as agents and stuff. But did you but I guess from what you're saying, it used to happen before, but now you can't just use a relative as that.
No.
You've got to do an agent, or you've got to do an exam or something or qualify to be. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah? That is correct. So you cannot be according to the FIFA agent regulations, you have to be licensed now to negotiate a football contract. In the past, it used to be parent, guardian, brother or sister. If you're an uncle, you had to be registered as an intermediary or licensed under the old rules. Now everybody has to be licensed, and that's it. So also what the regulations permit you from doing is from paying a commission to the parent, guardian, sister, brother, uncle. You're no longer just to get a deal done, you're not allowed to actually pay them anything.
Can I ask a question?
If you're going to police that, I don't know. But if you get caught, obviously you're going to get punished.
Can I ask something?
Yep, go ahead.
There's two high-profile people in football, which is Messi's father and Neymar's father. Are they both licensed?
So Neymar's father never actually negotiated the deal for Neymar when he made the move to PSG. I actually trained one of the 8 FIFA football agents who were involved in the Neymar deal.
And Messi's father?
Messi's father, he has legal representatives that do it.
Because I heard David Beckham yesterday talking about speaking to his father in the state to convince him.
They can talk, can't they? No problem talking, but it's like who negotiated the deal. He sat the exam and passed. I don't know. I mean, this is the thing, right? There's always exceptions to the rule. There's always the media talk. So the way that business should be done according to the regulations is what you should stand by. What you read in the press and the media they've got better, but factually they are often extremely inaccurate. Okay, so what you read, it's like the common thing about Messi is, there are regulations about minors. Messi coming to Europe at a very young age, wouldn't be allowed now. But in the past it happened. But you got to remember that was 20 odd years ago. The world's changed so much in 20 years.
Yeah. As a good agent, you have to what do you do to avoid the parents' involvement in this case? Say no to them straight away?
No, just to bring them in as value their role. And this is part of one of the skills, actually. This is one of the skills. We move nicely on the skill. It's about people management. It's about managing people around the player, the family, the friends, the uncles that turn up out of nowhere. It's about managing the process. It's about explaining and showing your value and your knowledge. It's about getting the representation contract signed. If the player wants to pay their family something, then so be it. But it shouldn't really come, in my opinion, it shouldn't come from the agent.
Can I just?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have to leave in 10 minutes.
That's fine. So we are recording. Yeah, all my sessions, I always want to do them for an hour, but they always go on too long because I always talk too much. And today they are recorded, so I will send everybody the recording after the session.
Just a quick one. So in terms of this course, right? How long does it take? Like, how often you can have a chance to have exam and stuff like that, and how the examination is in terms of multiple choice, or I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, as you're going in 10 minutes, then, I was just about to move on to that session now, that part of this session. So I'll start talking about that now. So the next exam, the application with FIFA actually stops on the end of March. So this is like kind of like the FIFA agent platform here. So I'll provide a link so people can take a look. So you would apply via agent.fifa.com. You have to do that by the 31st of March. You have to go through a application process. So they will assess your application. You don't have to pay anything at this kind of point, but they will check that you meet their requirements. So there are certain requirements that you need to make sure. So you have to, one of the requirements would be that you need to have no false or misleading information within the application, obviously. Then no criminal record, organized crime, corruption, fraud, those kind of things. You cannot be working for a professional football club, a confederation like UEFA. You can't be working for FIFA. In order to become a football agent, you can't be a professional in the game, shall we say, because it's a conflict of interests. And that even applies if you were the kit person or working on the match day within marketing. You know, you cannot work in football as an agent. You cannot be part, like an owner or a shareholder of a professional football club. Again, that would be seen as a breach or a conflict of interest. If you've performed football agent services, so that's basically trying to work as an agent without the license, there is a reporting system now that FIFA introduced. And if you do get found to guilty of providing football agent services, you have to wait 24 months before you apply. So FIFA will do all these checks when you apply. You cannot be involved, well, you cannot be bankrupt. And you have to wait 5 years if you have been bankrupt before you can apply. You can't take a company into liquidation either. And the final kind of thing would be you cannot be involved with a betting company, because again, it could be a conflict of interest. You could have information, or you can manipulate the markets to your benefit. So if you had worked in the betting industry, you'd have to wait 12 months before you can actively apply and to become a FIFA football agent. So they will check those kind of things. So the actual exam itself is only an hour. You have to travel to a venue to do it. In England, the last one was in Birmingham. The one prior to that was in Excel Centre in London. I think it costs £300 to actually sit the exam for an hour. 20 questions, multiple choice. Some of those questions have more than one answer, which makes it tricky. 3 minutes per question. So there is a strategy around how to actually ask those questions. And the next kind of important thing to remember is it's 15 out of 20. So you need 75% to pass. Most of the questions are based on the FIFA football agent regulations, which is this document here. So most of it on this document. And then probably half and half are based on this, and also the regulations on the status of transfer the players, basically how the business works. So those are the two main documents. There are other documents that you also need to consider, but they only take up a small percentage of the actual questions. So those are based around the Football Tribunal, ethics code, disciplinary matters. There's about 600 pages to actually study. So there's a lot of information to study. If you look at some of the other documents that FIFA have in terms of the commentary on these documents, it's another 700 pages if you were to read all of this on the commentary, because it really goes into the legal detail of the regulation states to transfer players, which is too much information. You don't actually need it. Okay. So like I said, the deadline is the 31st of March. The exam date is the 22nd of May. When you make your application, you don't have to pay. You only have to pay if you're going to confirm your attendance. And that usually starts between probably beginning of May. Football associations around the world will start to announce when you need to register by. Okay.
John,
So FIFA
because
actually introduced a maximum limit of $600. So some associations were charging an absolute fortune to sit the exam and making money out of it, but they've actually set a cap now of $600 for the applicant, but most of them are below that amount.
John,
Yes, go ahead.
when is the location for this May? Is it London, Birmingham?
I don't know yet. It hasn't been announced.
It's not published. Okay.
Yeah, it hasn't been announced. They're not too open with that until the deadline's passed, and then slowly they will give that knowledge.
Thank you.
So if you register,
Can I chip in my question?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. One at a time.
I say.
Oh.
I say I'm just on that point. What if you register your interest and then you have managed to get your training go on the course, and then probably you haven't managed to get on the exam? Are you losing the sports?
No. So like my guarantee to you is that I've had a lot of people. I've done this course a couple of times. Okay, so I've had a couple of run throughs with it. So if you fail the exam, for whatever reason, or you decide not to do it, you only pay once. So even if you fail it for whatever reason 10 times, you can still join in the courses for free. You only pay once for the FIFA agent training. Okay, so I won't charge you again because I'm going to be running the course and I want you to pass. I want you to be a success in the industry. And I know it's difficult. So the study that I'm doing is probably about 20 sessions, and they will last from 45 minutes to an hour, 2 hours per session. They will be recorded, so you will have access to them. 2 sessions a week, Monday and Thursday, starting at 6 p.m.
Perfect.
Okay. And, my promise to you is that I will give you my time. I'll guarantee you my time. And just like we had in this kind of group discussion about a role and skills of a football agent, which I hope you enjoyed, I'll talk about the regulations. I'll ask you questions. I'll get you to discuss it. And we go through it that way. You're still going to have to do your own individual study. That's really important. You can't just rely on the 20 hours, but this is going to really help you understand and how to apply the regulations. Also, since the last exam, I've been working really hard in accumulating exam study questions and also some questions from past FIFA agent exams. So they're available to you to test your knowledge, expand, get used to some of the kind of quiz questions that the exam questions FIFA will ask. Also get used to the terminology. So there's about 750 of those at the moment. And they are
how much is the cost?
into topic, they're broke down into FIFA exam, and we just carry on going right until the exam starts, day before. Okay.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. How much is the cost?
£600.
All right. Is it possible to pay instrumentally?
Yeah, you can pay via PayPal credit. So you can spread it over PayPal credit, or there is also Klarna as well, which you can spread the costs that way.
All right. All right. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay. Any other kind of questions?
John, I've got a question.
Yes, Summer, go ahead.
What do you call me, Sama? My name is Mahmoud. I don't know if it's got some.
Oh, sorry, it's come up Sama.
Sama. Oh, yeah, you know, because it's my daughter. Because I changed the phone. That's fine. Never mind. It's Mahmoud. I mean, I used to use the other phone, but never mind. I mean,
No, that's fine.
I've got Thursday issue because I've got to study somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I can attend Monday, no problem.
They
What
are
about
recorded. They are
Oh,
recorded.
okay. I mean, if I miss Thursday, I could always send me the recording when I could.
Yeah, yeah. The recording is available. I make them available on the platform so you can just listen back. But also what we do as well, we get a WhatsApp group amongst everybody.
Okay.
So that WhatsApp group allows you to ask questions as well. You know, so what happens in the WhatsApp group? Everybody who's part of the kind of training will be in that WhatsApp group. During that WhatsApp group, I will ask you questions during it. You can ask your own questions. People answer it themselves. If people are going the wrong direction or saying it wrong, I'll correct them. And when we get closer to the exam, it becomes a really good tool because people are discussing the regulations and getting confidence because they feel like they're becoming the expert. And you'll get reassurance that you know it's right. So the WhatsApp group is phenomenally successful. And when you have the exam questions as well, it just reinforces everything. You know, I cannot guarantee that you'll pass because I'm not sitting the exam for you. But what I can guarantee is my time. And obviously, if you're really struggling on a topic, you just drop me a WhatsApp message. We can jump on a call for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour. You know, just during the day, it's fine. So, you know, that's what I'm making kind of available to you. And when it comes to the last kind of sessions, we're basically just going through exam questions and then breaking them down and giving best practices of how to actually answer the questions. Okay.
Okay. If I'm right, I'm just going to put it on that way. You're going to train us from now till the exam.
March the 4th, it starts Monday, March the 4th, and I will do a session on the 21st of May, the day before.
Okay. And
okay, so there'll be 2 sessions a week until the 21st of May.
Okay. And your job is to make us understand the process, learn about the regulation. It's like prepare us for the exam, and you will charge us.
Tutoring for the exam.
Yeah, and it will be like £600 towards you, and £300 for the course.
Registration.
Yeah, I mean, overall, you're looking around 900.
Well, you don't pay me that, but you're probably looking at an investment of about £1,000.
Okay.
You know, but I mean, if you fail that exam for whatever reason, this one's going to be in November. I'm not sure of the date, but you won't have to pay the training again. You just have to pay the FIFA exam fee. So you have to go and pay FIFA direct for that. I don't touch the exam fees.
Okay, I got that. I mean, with your knowledge and expertise, you know, I know the book is 600 pages. We will try to resume it with the key point that is going to be on the exam. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's so I've like I said, I've gone through this a couple of times. I have my study notes. I've broken it down into more simple
way of understanding.
Yeah, way of understanding it. And we use different scenarios. But it is up to you to read the regulations as well and to go through it and to make your own notes. And you know, I'm trying to work on, I don't know if I'll get them ready in time, but I am trying to work on some flashcards as well to help you, just to improve your knowledge in certain areas. So there will be things that I'll be improving as we go through it. Okay.
Okay.
You know, because I'm passionate about it. I want it to work for everybody.
Hello, John.
Hi, Demola.
Yeah, so the FIFA exam you said is about £600 or
so my training is £600.
In dollars, how much is that?
Oh goodness, 740, 750, top of my head.
Okay. Oh, are we gonna have the study questions after we make this payment, this training fee payment?
Yeah, yeah. People get access to those study questions kind of straight away. So I have like a separate, I created a separate product for that, but you'll get access to those straight away.
Okay, because I'm looking at your website right now. I can see the
Yeah, that's
FIFA.
included. That's included in the price. Yeah, that's included in
Oh.
the price, the study questions. So you wouldn't have to pay for the study questions as well. You know, that's included.
Is this one also included FIFA football agent exam training?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah,
Yes,
so
you
we've
get
got a
answer.
few people. So I do have a few questions to add to that because I was able to get hold of some new FIFA agent exam from the last exam questions. So I'll be adding those over the coming days, probably over the weekend. But there's a lot of yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm pretty comfortable. There may be a few errors. If you do notice errors, then just let me know because I want to get as perfect as possible. But yeah, I'm pretty happy that it'll be a great resource for you guys. Okay, thank you very much. Right, any other questions?
Yeah, could I ask?
Yes, Caroline.
So John, when you have the courses on Monday and Thursday, is that new material each time?
Yes, yes. So there is a schedule. Yeah, it's not the same. No, so every kind of week I go through a different topic.
Okay.
So
you'll tell us ahead of time. So presumably
yeah,
we
you'll be
should
able to see. You'll be able to see on the platform.
Okay.
I should have loaded it up actually. That's poor salesman me.
That's okay.
I should have gone through it with everybody. But yeah, but that wasn't really the purpose of this session. Really, it wasn't really to talk about the training as such, but it's more to yeah. Let's see if I can log on quickly.
Like let's just say March 4th. You said Monday, March 4th is the first one. So before
Yes,
then,
that very first one, we
read
start to
some-
look at the exam process. And then yeah, for the first 3 sessions, we look at the FIFA agent regulations. And then we spend 5 weeks on the regulations on the transfer of players. And then we look at the disciplinary code.
So we could read.
Yeah, it's all, yeah, as soon as you enroll, you get access to
Okay.
all to everything. Yeah. So
Okay.
let me just share my screen quickly and then you can see what I'm on about.
Okay. And you've taken the new test?
I passed it years ago. Yeah, I was a legacy agent.
Oh, good for you. Okay.
Yeah, so here's like the training. So you'll see here all the different sessions. So the first session is about the application process and the licensing process. So I've gone over that pretty quickly. There's a lot more in detail to that kind of process. That's an introduction. Then we look on to the couple of sessions on the FIFA football agent regulations. Then we look at the regulations status transfer of players, and that's 5 weeks. And then we have a special session on player compensation. So that is solidarity fund and training compensation.
Okay. And
then we look at the FIFA statutes with a disciplinary code, the ethics code, the football tribunal, guardians, safeguarding. And then we basically overview it again. So then we go through the key points that I feel are really important for you to understand within the FIFA agent regulations. And then we look at some exams, questions. And then we look at specific topics that I will decide to overview within the regulation status of transfer of players. So that could be bridge transfers, that could be whatever. We go through it. And that's kind of where I try to assess where people's knowledge is lacking or where the questions are, where people are confused. And I kind of slot it in there. So they're a bit more bespoke. Then we just go through exam questions.
Great.
And then the exam questions, which you also get access to.
Yeah, that's terrific.
You know, so I've set it out here. So there are different questions on the rules, very similar. And then I've just got to add some more to this section here about the FIFA agent exam quizzes. So we will be using these during the course, but also they are there for you to actually utilize as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Would you would wait to jump into the exam questions until
I tell you what, it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter? Okay.
Yeah, I would go, because you're not, it's just a study tool. It's not an assessment tool.
Right. Okay.
So it's designed just for you just to jump in, have a go, mess up, look at where you may need to do some research, consult the documentation, write your notes. They're there as a study tool. I'm not going to assess people on them. That's not what this is about. This is about getting you to the end goal, which is to sit that exam and pass it.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Fabulous. Thank you.
No problem.
Just me, John. I
Yes.
didn't hear the number of questions you said the exam. If our exam
20. It's only 20 questions.
20. Wow.
20.
Okay.
But you have 3 minutes per question. Okay.
All right.
So some of the questions you can go through quite quickly. Others you may think, oh my goodness, this is like, if you have to do calculations, it's going to take you longer than 3 minutes.
Yes.
So sometimes, just some early advice. If you get a question like that, move on to the next one, because you can always go back. So get the easy mark. So you need 15 out of 20, 75% to pass.
Mm-hmm.
If you get 16 out of 20, it doesn't matter. As long as you get 15, it matters. So you've got to play the game, really, in this exam. You do the simple ones first, the lengthy ones, the ones that you think, oh, I'm going to have to really think about this, or actually consult, because it's open book. So you can take materials in with you. You can take your notes in with you. You can take the documents with you. You can have, you can't use Google or the internet, but you can have electronic copies of the rules as well. But so you can consult them, but that's going to take you more than 3 minutes to do.
Mm-hmm.
Come back to it at the end. You should be able to get 20 questions done in plenty of time from experience. But why waste your time on a calculation question, which is going to take you maybe 10 minutes to do?
Exactly.
It's not worth it. You might as well come back to the end. And if you don't get to answer it, but you get 19 out of 20, but you don't answer that question, then so be it. Okay.
John, I got a question.
Go ahead.
It was amazing that you said you could take some documentation with you. I mean,
Yes.
Can you have the 600 book with you as a hard copy or electronic?
Yes, you can have it as a hard copy.
Okay.
You can have it as an electronic copy with you as well.
Okay, but no internet, no access to other.
No internet, no WhatsApp, no messaging. So you can, even within the regulations, you can, some of the questions will come up, and you can do a Control F, type in some of the regulations, and go to it and read it, and you'll get it right.
Oh, that's not bad. I didn't expect
No.
that.
So when I sat the exam,
Mhm.
there was no documents at all. You
Of
have to
course.
basically learn it and do it. So interestingly enough, I actually, the very first time I did it, I failed it.
Really?
Yes, I failed it. So I was pretty devastated, because I thought I passed, to be honest. And then 2 months later, I got a letter from the English FA saying that they remarked the exam. And instead of having 14 correct, I suddenly had 18 out of 20, which made me feel a lot better. So yeah, I ended up passing it, but it was tough. It was a tough exam. But see, some of the questions, the problem is some of the questions, because you know the regulations so well, your mind goes to a future scenario where that regulation would actually be active. But there is one question that is 100% right. There's another question that or answer that may be 80% right if this or this or this happens.
Oh,
But
no.
that's actually the wrong answer. So they're really tricky like that, the questions. Sometimes the simplest answer is the correct answer. All the others, you could argue, it would be correct. But actually, because of that question doesn't actually state that, it's wrong. So we will go through the questions like that. And it's really important to understand how to answer these questions, because if you rush it, you'll get it wrong.
I've got two questions.
Go ahead.
First one is the similarity of the some questions are too close that you could make a mistake and fail. Is that what you said?
100%. 100%.
And the second question is, from the previous group that you assessed and you had people, how much is the percentage of the people? I know people are different, as you said. You could feel like failing or not qualified.
Yeah,
but
so it is, I had the first exam was easier than the second exam. Okay, I had 95%. I had 20 people do it because I had my own agents do it.
Okay.
As well. And, you know, I had, because I was testing out. So they'd already been involved in the industry a lot. So it's probably a bit unbalanced that, if I'm honest. Like, but we only had 1 out of the 20 fail. Okay. In the second session, it went down to 65%. So I had 5 guys failed. But they'll be back in this group going for it.
Does that mean this is your third time so far?
It's my third time training it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but actually I used to train people for when it used to be licensed prior to 2015. So I did kind of 4 years of training people. So I do know the regulations extremely well. Okay.
John, what's your background? Were you a footballer or did you come from a football background? Sorry, because I missed the start. I was
Okay, well, my background is failed footballer, wasn't I? No, I decided I got, you know, I was at Norwich City for a bit, Cheltenham Town, but you know, I got injured at 16 and I probably didn't have the passion or the drive, unfortunately, then or confidence to be a pro. But
the best agents never played football.
I still play to a level. Yeah, I was probably better than better than where I played, really. But aren't we all? Aren't we all? But yeah, I also played rugby as well. So I had a decision: do I go and play lower level football or go to university? I went to university, did a marketing degree. I learned a lot during that marketing degree, but decided that I didn't want to work in marketing per se. So I instead thought it's useful, but I didn't know what to do. And then it's a bit of a story, really. I got dumped by a girl in Bournemouth. Okay, I went to Bournemouth University. I was a bit upset, and I was walking home. And I was walking past the cinema, and Tom Cruise film was on, Jerry Maguire. And I thought, I tell you what, I'm just going to go and watch it. So I went in to watch the Jerry Maguire movie, all heartbroken. And I came out and I was like, that's what I want to do as a career. I want to be a sports agent. And it's a little bit of a cheesy story, but it's the you know, it's the truth. And from there on, you know, it was all about how do I get to become a sports agent. So after my studies at Bournemouth, I did some normal work, just trying to pay off some of my debts. And then I did a law master's, which was really helpful, obviously, with the contract negotiation, actually understanding the business. And then I worked for UK Sport, which is a high performance agency in international relations. And then I did anti-doping education with a lot of the Olympic and Paralympic athletes. And then I had the opportunity, because I was talking to athletes and different people in the industry, I got the opportunity to go straight into sports agency and work for a London agency for about 5-6 years. Then worked for an American company, and then run my own agency. So it's been quite a journey, but it's something that I've been doing for quite a long time. So I feel I have a good take on the industry and what happens and how to not make mistakes as well. Okay.
John,
Yes.
you know, in the football market, is the FA agent course is the only qualification for to be an agent, or there is other thing that you're
Right.
not aware
So
of?
it's a good question. There is no FA agent course. There are national football agent regulations,
Mhm.
which basically, if you want to do business in England, you need to register as an agent with the English FA. Okay?
Okay.
But the only way you can do that is if you are licensed by FIFA. So you need to
So,
be FIFA
yeah.
licensed agents before you can register with the English FA. And all it is you fill out an application form, they approve you, they do their checks, and you're done.
Does it cost money?
No, it's free. So if you have to register in any country, they cannot charge you a fee. The only fee you will pay is the FIFA licensing fee of $600 every year.
That's what is £600 every year to keep your registration.
$600 to keep your registration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every year.
Every year. But that gives you access to, there's like CPD, continual professional development. So you have to perform 20 credits every year of training, which is included in the price. Also, you get access to the football tribunal. So you don't have to pay for any kind of disputes with clubs or players if you decide to go that direction. So that's included in the price. You don't need to get professional indemnity insurance, although some people may decide to. So in the past, you had to get agent insurance as well. But that's not the case anymore. So really, you know, it's $600 is actually $600 for the first time, and then for subsequent years, for a second year, it's $300 a year. They actually
worth it?
they actually reduced it for future years. So it's not $600 a year. $600 the first year, then $300 for every subsequent year.
Is it worth it to have it?
Well, you need it if you're going to be working in the industry.
Of course.
If you don't have it, you can't work. And, you know, at the moment, the industry is in a little bit of a strange place where there are a lot of people saying that you don't need to be a licensed agent to do business. Okay. But FIFA, because they haven't completely enforced all the regulations, especially around payments, as soon as they do, as soon as everything gets approved, the industry will tighten up a lot. So when I remember when they first announced that you had to sit an exam, there was loads of agents or intermediaries saying to me, "Oh, I won't be bothering with that. I don't need to do it." But actually, it's becoming more and more clear now that, you know, clubs are asking for agent license numbers. You know, because when you sign a representation contract with a player, you have to lodge it. So FIFA actually within their systems can see who represents who. If you don't have a representation contract, then, you know, you've got a problem. You're not going to get paid, basically.
John, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
It's a little bit
Oh, Caroline, you're breaking up. Sorry, you're breaking up, Caroline. Well, that hasn't happened for ages.
Soccer players who seek representation by agents in a message. I think it's on my end because I'm on work.
Oh, Caroline, if you want to type it in, if you type in your message, that'd be great, because I couldn't hear you because it was like a robot. Okay. As we wait for Caroline, has anyone else got a question they'd like to ask?
Hello, John.
Hi there.
Yeah, John. I just want to ask, off topic just a little bit. I want to ask, right? You know, before 2015, FIFA had their regulations. They had their normal, the exams and the criteria to become an agent. What was the thinking behind dropping the whole thing and making it free for all, only for them to revert back to the original?
Great question.
What was the logic of what was the thinking behind that? What was going on there?
Right. So FIFA have a remit to manage the world on a worldwide basis.
Right.
They did some research and they discovered that 75% of contracts negotiated around the world were being performed by unlicensed agents.
Well, how could that be though? Because they were
no,
meant
this is the point, right? This
as
is the
the
point.
FIFA agents.
Let me finish the explanation, then you'll understand.
Okay.
Okay. So 75% were done by unlicensed agents. If you looked at where the money was in the world, okay, it was in the big 5 leagues.
Yeah.
England, Germany, France, Italy, Spain. Okay. Yeah. So that took up probably 80% of the entire market in terms of transfer fees. Where were the agent regulations working? England, France, Germany, Italy, Spain. They were really strict. The likelihood that an unlicensed agent were doing business in the industry and got away with it was very, very slim. It just didn't happen. You know, even now there's a case with an unlicensed agent doing a business in oh my goodness, it was years, like almost a decade ago, they're investigating it with Jermaine Defoe going to Portsmouth. You know, they go far back because it just didn't happen. But if you went to, I remember I did a deal in Bangladesh. The whole country was run by unlicensed agents. It was crazy. So in every other country, apart from the big leagues where the money was, there was lots of unlicensed agents working. So that's why that kind of 75% is bigger came from. It wasn't where the money was. It was just because if you were doing a deal in India or Bangladesh or Nigeria or Ghana or wherever it was, unlicensed agents were ruling the roost. So FIFA decided, look, we can't manage this properly. So they decided to scrap it all and go to intermediaries. They soon realized that by opening it up, it created an even worse problem because...
Yeah, it got worse.
Yeah, because it became saturated. In England, there were more registered intermediaries than there were professional players. So it was nonsense. I completely stopped working in England because of it, because it was just too chaotic.
Wow.
You know, that number now has completely dropped, and it will continue to drop as FIFA start to really enforce the regulations. And the reason why it's going to work this time, why they've gone back to it, is because it was the Wild West, because it was too chaotic, because they couldn't control where the money was going. But also now, FIFA are able to use online systems. You know, they're able to use the TMS system.
I told you to get, but I got it for you anyway.
You know, they're able to use...
Did you hear the message?
Oh, we've got somebody on the phone. Let's have a look. Let's get the participant list up. Yeah, but they're able to actually manage it now because everything's online. So for the FIFA agent platform, they're able to see if an agent's actually registered and actually represents a player. They're able to track transfer fees and the movements of players from one country to another. So it's a lot easier to manage now. When you're just dealing with facts and paper,
right,
it was impossible. So the way that the industry has really grown in terms of FIFA develop their systems has allowed them to actually introduce the regulations and be pretty confident that if they get past the the kind of challenges in England and Germany, that they can actually enforce it. And I think
Well,
they will.
I think reverting back to the original format, I think it's good for the future of the whole industry anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if the exam is probably the best way of doing it completely. I think there are some really good intermediaries out there who are not very good at exams, but they know the business very well. So, an interview could have been better to demonstrate your knowledge as well. If you fail the exam a couple of times and close, I think that should be an option. Because it's not just the thing about passing the exam, just because you pass the exam doesn't mean that you're going to be a good agent. Doesn't mean you know the business.
Agreed. I do agree.
And it's the amount of guys I'm speaking to who said they've got the FIFA agent license, and I'm talking to them about the business and how to do it, and they haven't got a clue.
Yep.
And there's regulations that come up that they should have learned during the exam, but they don't know how to apply it in practice. And they're making some big mistakes, and you're dealing with people who's relying on you for their careers. So you've got to understand the rules. The regulations should always be your starting point, and then you've got to make personal decisions in which direction to go. Do you stick to the rules, or do you go a different direction?
John?
Yes.
Mahmoud again. No more Sama. I've got a question for you. I mean, I know the intermediate was one of the old system, as the previous gentleman has mentioned, in 2015. And now they're still around, but they don't have a credibility and the power to work, but they're still around. They didn't disappear.
Yeah, they're still around. I agree.
Yeah.
In theory, they shouldn't be active anymore. So
Yeah, but
in theory, what happens if a club works with an intermediary who's not, or if an individual delivers football agent services to a client, so that client can be a player or a club, and FIFA discover that they are working with an unlicensed agent, then they can receive a fine, they can receive a ban.
The club, you mean?
Well, the player can receive a playing ban for a period of time. And the club, the worst they can receive is a transfer ban for 2 windows.
Interesting.
You'd be astonished at how many clubs actually have a transfer ban at the moment around the world.
One of them is Barcelona.
Yeah, but I mean, around the world, how many clubs do you think actually have a transfer ban? So some of that is a little bit manipulated because it's the women's and the men's team.
There are loads, yeah, I know. City was one of them, Chelsea as well.
Yeah, but there's almost 700 clubs around the world that have transfer bans because of dealing with it, not dealing with the business properly. So FIFA will punish clubs. They're not scared of punishing clubs, as you've seen with Barcelona, and what's going to happen to Man City. Who knows?
My second question is, the application for the registration, you said you have to know what you type in to be eligible for the course. Are you going to help us on that, or should we just go ahead and do it ourselves if we pay for the registration to go ahead with you, of course?
I'm happy to help you do it. It's quite a simple process, really. It's quite a simple application. The application is not a problem. Yeah, and if you get approved, you get approved. It's great.
Can you not be approved, and can you not be can you disapprove it, or can
It
they say no?
depends. It depends if you provided any information or anything's happened that would, if basically if you there's no rush to do it until the 31st of March.
Okay.
So I would probably wait until we've done the first couple of sessions.
Okay.
Then do the application, and then you can decide if you're eligible or not. Okay, if you're not eligible, we haven't thought about this, we'll have to come to some kind of terms in order to refund you. Okay.
And what was the main thing that you will be not eligible? As you said, you work for a club or criminal record or something like that. Is that correct?
Yeah. So if you know, if you've got, you know, if you've been bankrupt, if you've brought a company
Of
into
course, yeah. That
receivership,
kind of.
yeah, that kind of thing. But that's a 5-year. Yeah, that's a 5-year wait. So if you've been bankrupt and it's over 5 years ago, you can apply. You know, if you have a criminal record in terms of fraud, match fixing, you know, crimes against children, obviously they wouldn't want you to be a FIFA football agent.
Or but working for football industry, like you said, I'll give you example. A steward in the match day, does it affect?
No, you'd be fine being a steward because usually you're independently.
Yeah, because you do match day only. You're not fully committed. It's called casual weekday at the stadium.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that
you
should
were
be
actually
fine.
employed by a company. You're not employed by the football club usually.
No, sorry to say that you're employed by the football club.
You are you? But I think you'd be fine doing that. You'd be fine doing that.
As a steward, you could be part of the football club that you work for as match day steward, or you could be an agency. But there's two parts of it. I mean, if it affects, maybe someone should.
If you were full-time employed by a club, if you were like the health and safety officer of a football club,
oh, that's different. No,
you couldn't be an agent. You know,
yeah.
If you were working full-time being the kit man for the club, you couldn't be a football agent. If you were working within ticket sales, you couldn't be you couldn't work in.
You mean if you work for a box office, you can't be?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice to hear that.
Yeah. So yeah, if you do all that, you can't be a football agent.
Can I know the reason why is that?
Because they think it's going to be a conflict of interest because you're going to get inside information. Potentially.
You might want to change your career. You're working there, but you're looking forward to be an agent in the future, and you've done what you've done for the club, and it's time for you to move out.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like, you know, if I think the reason is they just say if you are an employee of a football club, you can't be an agent. Obviously, you can appeal it, but I mean, you know, where does that stop? You know, if you're a player, you can't be an agent. If you're a head coach, you can't be. It's obvious, isn't it? So those rules should apply to if you're working in marketing, if you're working in the catering, even that's the rules that they set.
Is a double standard, because I heard recently with one of my friends who was involved in football that any footballer age of 16, 17 to 18, part of the academy, they allow them to have the license to be coach or agent in the club in case the career finish, and they could be part of the. Did you hear about that?
What's that?
I mean, if there's some players age of 20 or 30, the club offer them courses of coaching, agent or scouting, part of the academy.
I've never. I've heard of, like, you know, I've heard of the coaching qualifications.
Yes, that's why coaching maybe. Yeah.
I could understand scouting, and yeah, why not? Why not agent? You know,
they said in case
you can study for it.
Yeah, that's in case
I'm studying for it, but you can't sit the exam until you are. Otherwise, you'd be.
You said something nice. In case the child or the player doesn't have the professional contract, as you said, 2%, 1 in 200 people would not make it. That means those players, they wouldn't be out of the club. They would work for the academy in the future. Does it make sense? Because
and why wouldn't they? You know, some may decide to become agents, but they can't work as an agent until they're no longer part of the club.
Okay,
so they can study. There's no harm in studying for it, is there? But as soon as they got the agent license, they would have to be not working for the club. The only kind of time frame is around betting. So if you work for a betting company, you have to wait for 12 months before you can apply.
And for the filling the application, you could just say whatever you want. You don't have to fill everything as you wanted. You could say that you're unemployed.
Well, you've got to be honest in your application.
No, of course, because, you know, part of the life you might have some of your experiences with the club, but you're not anymore there.
It doesn't go into that much detail, to be honest.
Okay, thank you, John.
No problem. Okay, right. Any other final questions? No. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. I'm so happy that people decided to give up their evening to be part of this. You know, it means a lot. So I'll definitely be doing another one of these seminars in the future. I will send the recording to everybody. You know, if you do have any questions about the training that I offer, then please feel free to get in touch. And hopefully I'll see you on the next seminar series or on our future courses. Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Don. Have a good one. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us. You take
No
care.
problem.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.